concept which we are going to discuss is polymorphism. As you know, we can achieve polymorphism in Java either by using method overloading or by a method overriding. Now let us see how we can utilize method overloading. That is how we can explain to the interviewer that how we have used method overloading in our automation framework. Now when you explain method overloading, you can tell interviewer like, I have created some reusable classes in my automation project where I use the Selenium inbuilt wait methods, and I created the overloaded methods to use them in my project wherever required. For example, I created explicit overloaded methods where I was passing in one method I was passing xpath as an argument, that is string argument. In another method, the overloading method, I was passing the web element as the argument. Same way you can also explain example using frames where you have created your own methods utilizing the Selenium frames handling, and you were passing the arguments as per your requirements so that you can use them in your automation project. Now let us see how we can explain this with the real example. So this is my automation project, okay, and in my project I am having this wait class which is a reusable class, okay, and in this wait class I am having a overloaded method which is explicit wait click, okay, and in this explicit wait click, in one method I am passing web element argument type, and in another I am passing string as a argument type, okay, and based on my requirement I can call this method in my project wherever required. For example, if I want to wait for the clickability of an element based on the web element passed, then I will call this method. If I want to wait on the clickability of element on the basis of xpath locator, then I will pass the xpath here, okay. So I can call either of these as per my requirement. Similarly, as my application was having lot of frames in it, so I created this class where I have overloaded the frame methods, okay, like in one switch frame method I am passing int id, which is id of the frame, and in another switch frame I am passing the name of the frame, and in the third switch frame method I am passing the element, okay. So based on my requirement, whatever the attribute of a frame I want to use, I will call any of these methods. So this is how you can explain the method overloading in Java automation framework. Now the next way to achieve polymorphism is method overriding. So when you are explaining method overriding usage in your automation framework, try to give examples specific to your application. For example, in my case I am giving the example of getting the get driver method where I am launching my browser, and based on one of my test requirement I am overriding that method in my test class so that I can launch my browser in different resolution. Now let us see the example. Now in this example, as I mentioned, this is my base class get driver method where I am basically creating my WebDriver instance, okay, based on my browser, okay, and then I am launching the URL, okay. Now in my test class I was having a separate requirement where I have to launch my browser like in a little bit less resolution, okay. So for that I have overwritten this base class get driver method in my test class. So now let us see. So this is my test class, okay, and here if you see, like here I have overridden this get driver method, okay, and I'm setting the resolution, whatever the resolution in which I want to launch my browser. So this is how I have overridden my base class method in my test class, and this is how you can give some examples specific to your application to explain the overriding in Java in your automation framework. The next OOPS concept to explain is encapsulation. So encapsulation in Java is simply means like wrapping up of data and the methods working on that data into a single unit, which is our class. So basically in your automation framework, every page class, test class or other classes are example of your encapsulation. For example, in your page class you are having all the locators, fields and the methods working on those fields wrapped up in a single unit, which is your page class. So now let us see the real example to explain what is encapsulation in automation framework. So in this example, you can see this is my page class, one of my page class, where I'm having the objects created, that is locators created, and the methods which is working on those locators are also created in this single class. So this is the example of my encapsulation, like within a single class I'm having all the data and the methods working on that data encapsulated in a single unit. Now the next OOPS concept in the list is abstraction. So as you know, we can achieve abstraction in Java either by using interfaces or the abstract classes. So it's not mandatory like you have to explain both of these, like based on your project, based on your automation framework, you can explain any of these. So the very simple example will be the use of interfaces by taking the classic example of WebDriver interface. As we all know, WebDriver is an interface, so you can explain like you have used WebDriver, driver equal to new Chrome driver, Firefox driver, whatever it is, and then you can explain like this is how I have used interfaces in my automation framework. Now let us see the real example. Now in this example, as you can see, this is my base class, okay, and in my base class I am basically creating the driver instance, WebDriver instance, and then I'm launching the web browser URL, okay. And in this example, you can see this is my WebDriver interface, and these are my Chrome driver and Edge driver classes based on the browsers on which you are working. So you can basically explain this overall statement like WebDriver is an interface and Chrome driver is a class where we are implementing the methods defined in your WebDriver interface as per my browser, like Chrome browser or the Edge browser or Internet Explorer browser, okay. So you can explain this example for the abstraction. Now the last OOPS concept to discuss is inheritance. As you know, inheritance simply means like reusing the parent class properties into your child classes, okay. And so for this you can explain like I am having one base class which I have extended in all of my page classes or test classes so that I can reuse its properties in whatever the class I want to use. So this is how you can explain the inheritance usage in your automation framework. Now let us see it with the example. Now to explain this, like in my automation framework, this is my base class, okay, where I am basically creating the WebDriver instance and launching the URL, and these are my test classes, and I'm almost extending this base class in almost every test class. Okay, for example, if I open this handle frame, you can see I have extended the base class so that I can reuse its inbuilt methods or properties wherever required in my test class. Okay, so this is how you can explain like how you have achieved inheritance in your automation framework. Now let us understand the overall execution of this framework, like how exactly it is working. So in my base class, as I mentioned, I have created the WebDriver instance and launched the URL, and in my test classes I am basically calling the methods which are present in my page classes specific to my page. Whatever page class method I want to call, I am calling those page class methods in my test case, okay. And after that, in my page class methods I am creating the overall things specific to my page, like all the objects specific to my page are present there, all the methods specific to my page are present there, okay. And also in my page classes I am making use of the reusable classes. For example, like I have called this reusable overloaded method switch frame, okay, from my reusable class into my page class. So this is overall structure, and at the end I can execute this method, this particular test case from my main class. So if I execute this, so this is a very small example of an automation framework.